Yo, yo, good day, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name's Jody Cedric. As you know, every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And it is not a Monday. Usually I do these on Mondays. It is a Wednesday night. You can't tell by my background. I'm trying to feel like I'm on the beach or by a pool. So yeah, we're doing something a little special tonight to accommodate my good friend Marco Valle, who's my guest. Marco, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
dude. Oh, dude. I've wanted to have you on for a long time. I've been a big admirer of you, your family, your beautiful wife, and it's a lot of fun watching you guys interact with each other. So.
Oh, thank you. No, it's same too. You got more kids than I do, so you know what it's all about.
Well,
It,
I don't know. I was looking. I do think I have more kids than you, but I was looking at your Facebook and I'm like, look at this, dude. You got a crowd.
right, it's slowly growing, and I think there's two more kids that are not in there. So two
Wow,
more
that's
grandkids.
crazy.
Yeah,
So
family
tell
is
me about
growing.
your yeah. Tell me about your family. Tell the audience about your family.
Well, I married a beautiful woman. Her name is Carrie, and she gave me four kids, three boys and one girl. And they've been an experience, and it's been an awesome experience. And now obviously they're all adults. My youngest is 23, I believe, 23, 24. And yeah, they're all married except one of my kids who's disabled, so he stays and lives with me. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't work. I used to, but my wife and I traded off, and I stay home, take care of my kids, and do anything she wants me to do. I am at her, you know.
That's good, man. Let's talk about that because I think, I think a lot of we've had this kind of shift in ideas about the roles of husband and wife. And to have gone through where, when your kids were little, you were the breadwinner, and now kind of the roles are reversed. And I remember you and I and your lovely wife, we went to lunch to talk about kind of this transition and what do you think about this? And I remember that lunch very clearly. And it's been fun to kind of watch this transition. So how has it been for you going from being the breadwinner to now being the guy in charge of the house?
Wow. Well, you know darn well like that marriage is like we both give 100%, right? And we both. My wife has been working not only to take care of our kids, but also to make sure my dreams came true. And there's a point where her dreams needed to come true. Being at
Mm.
home with kids, a lot of times, that takes all your time. So we decided that her dreams were going to move forward, and she didn't have an education, and she decided she wanted to be a nurse, and then a nurse practitioner. So that's what she does right now. I mean, it's so for it gives her confidence, it gives her a sense of uh, purpose, and it's how can I stop her from pursuing what she wants to do? Because I did my thing. I own my business, and I worked for large companies. I ran the rat race, and it was fun. Sometimes it wasn't, but it was her turn, and it is what she decided to be. So
I love that. I love that, just the whole idea of it's your turn because it really displays this feeling of a partnership. So, looking back when you were the main breadwinner and you were having kids, one, how did you guys juggle that? I mean, what was it dynamic where you just were working 8, 12 hours a day and she was in charge of everything? Or was it even then, was it kind of more of a shared load together?
okay, you have to understand where I come from. To yeah, this is one of those answers that a lot of people may not understand, or they may, depending. I'm very religious, and I believe that in order to have a talk on fatherhood, and my wife needs to be here with me because she's a big part of that, right? Um, but in order to understand where I'm coming from, all my life I have learned to prioritize God first. God is number one. My wife is number two, and my kids are last, right? Not last, but they're number three in the hierarchy of things.
Yeah.
So, by serving my Heavenly Father, it allows me to serve my wife and it allows me to serve my kids. I don't know if that makes sense,
No, it makes perfect
but
sense to me.
that prioritization is very important, and it has to be done intentional. I can't just go to church and go through the motions pretending everything's going to be fine. I'm going to church and I worship God intentionally so that I can receive the blessings that He has promised me, and so that He can bless my family. And when I have time with my wife, I believe in being intentional with that time, meaning my relationship has to grow. It, it can't be something that and I remember I was like this before, where my wife slept on her side, I slept on my side, we wake up, there was no kids in the morning and all that. But I figured out that was leading me to nowhere, and actually it made us angry, it
Mm,
made us a little bit upset. And I'm glad we realized that we needed to be more proactive with each other, not reactive.
yeah.
And by being proactive, we had to intentionally take time for each other, intentionally love each other, intentionally hug each other, intentionally doing it in front of our kids so that they could learn what happiness is. And it's funny because as we changed, our kids changed.
Mm,
And the same thing as it goes on to our kids, we have to be intentional with them. My wife and I, when we got married, we did not want to be like our parents. As much as I love and she loves her parents, we believe there was a lot of mistakes made, and it created, it, if we would have gone through those paths, I think our kids would not have been like they are now.
yeah.
We see the product and the fruits of our labor through our kids, and we're just very happy because of that.
Yeah. There is a concept. I was having this conversation with a young man about a month ago, and he asked me, he said, where do you see people struggling in their relationships? Where do they fail? And I said, it's very simple. They stop pursuing each other. And he goes, what do you mean by that? I go, well, you think about it. When you're first dating, dude, you're all invested in trying to win that girl. You're trying to prove that you're the knight in shining armor that will serve her the rest of her life. But somewhere along the line in the relationship, you stop pursuing her with that same intentionality. And when you lose that intentionality, you lose that purpose, you lose that drive, you lose that commitment. And what you had that was so beautiful and was growing and developing starts to wilt and wither. And so, my advice to you, young dude, is to continually be in hot pursuit of your wife and vice versa.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The things that get in the way, work, right? And your own passions. There's a lot of selfishness that we have, right? Ingrained in us, man. And we want to go fishing. We want to do all this fun stuff and leave our wife with the kids, or just, we need to involve them in everything we do. And that's what I've learned. My wife needs to be part of my time. And yes, she gives me time to do things on my own, but I think growth happens when I'm with her. I love that. I know some guys may not, and that's them. It's everybody to each their own. But if you want to really, you're going to live old together, might as well practice now,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be that grumpy, those grumpy couples that they just hate each other,
Yeah.
and there's way too much of that.
Waiting to die or waiting for the kids to get out. So it sounds like in your whole marriage, you have been very intentional about your relationship with your wife. How has that carried over into being intentional with your kids?
Well, it's funny because kids have their own nature. They come with their own personalities, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just ingrained in me or what, or my wife, but we took time with them. We took time with them. We took time with them to pray. We took time with them to listen to whatever their hobbies. My son wanted to do a podcast and stuff. Okay, but we hit the equipment for him to do that. My other son wanted to collect Pokemon cards. Okay, I started helping him buying Pokemon cards. But it's not just that easy. Then you help them. I remember my little kid wanted to buy more Pokemon. Okay, let's have a business. Let's get you a business so that you can earn money. And I bought glow sticks for him. And Halloween was coming. I bought him 1,000 glow sticks. Okay, let's go door to door and sell them. And then he made his own money. He bought his own Pokemon cards. You know, all those things. That communication, that trust that you need to build with your kids is crucial. And take the time to listen to them. And that's the one thing that my dad did not do that well because he worked so hard. He was a worker,
Yeah.
and I get that. But you can't work yourself to the point where you lose your family,
Mm.
or you lose that relationship. Now we're best friends. We're adults, and everything. Yeah, I love him to death. I will never trade him because he taught me so much. But I want to make sure that my kids get the things that I didn't, and that's what that one on one. Even when they have problems, I remember I have several stories. My kids, one of them was a rebel, a rebel. And how do you rein them in? How do you rein them in so they don't get lost in the world? I had what, and I don't want to keep talking, but I could tell you, I had one of my sons who was hanging out friends who made him think that he was homosexual, and at school they were talking about it, so he was like, maybe I am. And one day I went to his tech, look at his phone, looked at his text, and I'm like, what is this? He got so upset at us and all this stuff. So we had a conversation. What do you want from life? Have you prayed to God about this? Have you, well, these are the steps that you need to take because these are big decisions. And I told him, until you figure out what you want in life and until you have talked to our Heavenly Father, then I will respect whatever you want to do. I told him. I took the door out of his bedroom and told him, okay, you have a week to make a decision.
Mm.
So a week later passed and we talked and said, okay, Dad, I prayed and I think I was in the wrong. I think I need to change my friends.
Hmm.
To this day, my son talks about that moment as a life defining moment for him because that's where he learned to go to God and pray to him and ask him on his own about his life and about what path he should take. Isn't that cool?
Well,
All this time,
I,
since he was a kid, we taught him those things, and it took him this one moment for everything to make sense to him.
I love the question. The question wasn't, is it right or wrong? The question was, what do you want out of your life?
Exactly.
And it enabled him to make a choice and pursue what was important to him or what he felt inside. Right. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of times we as dads try to wrestle the decision and the direction and the feeling of their heart, that they don't have that experience with wrestling with their emotions, wrestling with what's inside
Yes.
them. And maybe he would have maybe he could have made a different choice, but it sounds like you would
Yeah.
have been open to that and said, "Look, what do you want out of your life? And whatever you choose, Dad's got you."
Yeah, and that's got you up to a point.
Mm,
Okay, because I totally believe that our Heavenly Father wants us to continue teaching our children about His plan. This is the part if people, if you don't follow God, it's difficult to understand,
yeah,
right? Uh, our Heavenly Father loves us so much that He wants us back to His presence, and He wants us to do His will, and to so that we can go back to His presence. And we as parents are supposed to help our Heavenly Father go back, teach our kids so they can understand that. Um, if we would have chosen the other way, I still would have loved him, but I would have kept teaching him because teaching him does not stop at any age.
mm,
Uh, I know there's parents out there that stop once they turn 18. Hey, you're on your own. Go out go out the door and do your thing.
yeah.
And I even met parents that have told me, I haven't talked to my kid for a couple of years.
Oh, geez,
you
I
know,
don't even know what that would be like.
I, right, right.
I mean, my,
I thought, I thought,
I mean,
let me tell you, I talked to all my kids. We gather on Sunday with their families, with their husbands and wives, and we talk on Sunday for 1 hour because I live in Oregon. One lives in Arizona, the other one lives in Idaho, the other one lives in Washington, right? So we talk, we not only do we update on our lives, we also cry together,
yeah,
we laugh together, we tell jokes together, and then we talk about God and how He's affected our lives.
that's beautiful.
And
That's
to
beautiful.
me, that's direction.
Well, and I love
That's
that because it shows that families continue because there are so many families, like you say, once you turn 18, you're out, there's the door, go figure out life. And we still have two of our kids at our house and they're 20, almost 26 and 23, right? But we love having them in our house and they're working towards a goal. They're saving to build a
there
business.
you
They're
go.
saving to buy a car. They're saving to buy a house. And we're like, you know what? We're here to facilitate opportunities for you. But more importantly,
Exactly.
we love having you in our life. Right? I raised you to fly, but that doesn't mean that I don't mind you coming back to nest every once in a while.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. There's so much love in that. And not only that, but there's a eternal principle in that. Okay. Because I believe that when we're in heaven, as families, we're all going to be together. Heck, might as well get used to it here, right? Um, but I was going to say something about, oh gosh, I just had a brain freeze.
Oh, that's okay.
Anyways, keeps going.
No,
I totally
it's
agree
good.
with what you were saying. I love it.
So
I
let
love it.
me ask you a question, right? I mean, it sounds like you've been very intentional about your marriage. You've been very intentional about building a relationship with your kids, being present, being involved, being engaging, and giving them love and a space where they can explore their questions about life, their successes about life. What has surprised you most, or what caught you off guard about being a dad?
Always having to fight my inner self, uh, that selfish part of me. Um, Kid or play games on TV, video games, you know, make a choice here. Okay. Uh, yes, yes, myself. I thought I was stronger in that, and a lot of times I haven't been. But I've learned. Um, I think the older we get, the more we learn, and there's definitely some things I would have done different. Uh, for example, when I first started my fatherhood experience, I believed in corporal punishment. I believed in, hey, spanking will never hurt you, but there's a point, right? um, and I didn't really realize what that point was.
Hmm.
And I've asked my kids for forgiveness for that, and they didn't remember much of it, but I did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm like, this is I feel, but I learned a lot from that. That doesn't matter. I feel like I could have done a better job teaching you this. And at that point, I wasn't smart enough, or I didn't have the experience enough to do that.
Mm,
Things like that, where I chose to follow my emotions instead of common sense. I chose to just be selfish.
mm. You know, that's kind of an interesting idea about as corporal punishment. Because I came from a home where we had Big Al. It was about a 13-inch paddle. And my butt and that paddle were very well acquainted with each other. And Judy and I, when our kids were younger, especially the first couple, we tried corporal punishment a little bit, but it just never set really well with us. And so we just found that really the spanking was more to get my frustration out instead of taking the time to teach, to listen, to understand, to fill in the gaps where they just weren't understanding. And my ego, my pride, my I'm the dad was getting in the way of me teaching my kid. And I had to kind of evolve and grow and try to learn how to just discipline myself to go, all right, dude, you're the one overreacting here. He's just learning.
Right. See, that's the selfish side that I'm talking about. You know, we choose to follow our own inner self, our own inner emotions that really are not helping the situation, right? I grew up with some really hard punishment. So when I was 2 years old, my parents left to the United States. I didn't see him back until I was 6. Okay,
Mm.
so that's a crucial time period, right? They put me in there with my uncle, who, I mean, he was just a good man, but he didn't know how to raise kids. And his punishment was putting our hands in the stove as close as,
Ooh.
right? Or giving us this really hot chili pepper and rubbing it against our mouths. You know, he had this whip that was three. It's just not good. Not good. And I felt bad for my brothers because they were older than me. They would get the hard end, and I would get some, but not as crazy as they did. Yeah. So to me, when I was doing what I was doing, oh, my kids have it easy. But really, but really, what's the difference? Emotional
Yeah.
damage is emotional damage. Um,
Mm.
so yeah.
Yeah. So as you've made this transition, now that your kids are getting older, they're moving out. You shared how you guys on Sundays have an hour together, but how have you embraced becoming a quote empty nester? Has that been an easy thing for you, or are you
No,
clinging for the
I
kids,
really,
or?
I really don't know what that means, because my son still lives with us, and my father-in-law
Mm,
still lives with us. My wife's dad. Um, but and I talk to my daughter every day of the week. We talk. It's just a beautiful relationship. I talk to my oldest son probably 3 days a week. My son, my second son, he lives with me, so I talk to him every day with him. My third son, I talk to him probably, besides a Sunday call, twice a week. So we're in constant. We just don't stop, and we love it. I love it.
yeah, yeah.
I hope they love it, but they're the ones calling me, so they have to love it. you know. And so
That's beautiful. I mean, that's beautiful because there's not a lot of families that have that kind of closeness once they start moving out and going to different states and pursuing their
yeah,
careers somewhere. Sometimes you get these long distance relationships, both not only in distance of space, but also in distance of heart.
right, right.
And for me, it's like, all right, how do we close that gap and make sure that we're always feeling loved and unified and that dad's got you, that mom's got you. I mean, they call mom more than me, but that's okay. I get that. That's fine.
Yeah, no,
So
I get that.
so looking back on your life with your wife and raising your kids, what are some things kind of to wrap things up, what are some key things, one or two points that you think men should do in their homes, with especially with their kids?
Number one is bring a spirituality in your home. If you're not, if you don't have a religion, follow one, find one, because it really does a positive thing in your family. I don't care what it is. For me, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's what I have chosen to follow. But you know what? Religion, when it comes to God, is good for you because it brings a sense of unity in the family. It really blesses it, and it really brings positive things to it. Number two, be intentional. Be intentional. Be intentional in everything you do. When you're at work, be intentional at work. When you're at home, be intentional at home. Don't don't be fake. Don't just give it a little bit of your, if you have 100% in you, don't give 20% to your wife. When you're talking with her, give her 100%. And love, 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 love. Hugs, kisses. When I talk to my kids, I say, "How's my Caleb doing? How's my Elijah doing?" I use words to make him, to bring in, to let them know that they belong to me and I love them so much. I'm intentional
Mhm.
about that. I'm intentional with my grandkids. I give them as much time. They call me and FaceTime to spend time with me and my wife, and it's so funny and hilarious. And they want to do things, and we just listen and talk and are silly with them. We're intentional because we want them to know that we love them. Distance doesn't matter. Is how you are at the moment with them. And thank goodness we have the internet, that we have we have all these things available to us to talk to them. Um, my parents, I talk to my mom every day. You have to love your parents. If you don't love your parents, it reflects. Your kids are probably not going to love you. I don't care what they've done to you. There's going to come a point where you're going to feel there's something going to be missing. Love your parents. I talk to my dad twice a week because he's always traveling. So, but I do talk to him. He's an amazing man. He's just at 85 and traveling like no other. Um, so yeah, yeah. Don't be a
That's
kid.
awesome.
What you do, what you expect of your kids, you do it yourself.
Mm. I love that. Well, dude, I have absolutely enjoyed visiting with you tonight. I knew it would be a fun and engaging conversation because I know how much you love your kids, your wife. You can feel it, you can see it. I mean, the you guys, when I watch you and Carrie, it's like watching two newlyweds, right? It's like it's still after all these years, you still have that excitement and that love and that engagement, and it's infectious. And I know that your kids feel that. And Judy and I have tried to build that same type of relationship with us. And it's like, I mean, she walks in the room, my heart still skips a beat, right? It's just like, it's just, and that didn't just come about. We were very
Wow,
intentional over the years,
have
right?
to work at it, right?
Yeah, that's
And
it.
to your listeners, if they don't have this, they still can get it. Don't be
Yes.
satisfied with being low level, spouse.
Yeah.
Keep working for the best self you can be, the best person you can be.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I have absolutely loved this conversation. I love your family. I love your brothers. I follow them and see what they're doing, and it's just you guys are just a phenomenal family, and I love the example you set. Thank you so much for
Hey,
taking the time to
thank you, Jody. I
visit with
appreciate
me.
your time. Say hi
Yeah,
to
and
your
you
wife.
guys, I will. And you guys that are listening, please remember, go out, like, share, and subscribe. And if you need a good gift for this Mother's Day coming up or Father's Day, go out to Amazon, check out my book. But how far must I go? A journey in faith. It's just me wrestling with some questions about faith that I think a lot of times people they don't want to admit that they're wrestling, or they just push it aside. So hopefully it'll help you. And thank you once again. Tell your lovely wife I said hello. And you guys, thank you so much for tapping in. And we will check you same time, same bat channel just next week. See ya.